What's up, fitness fam? It's your host, Dion, also known as Active Gamer, Andrew, also known as Caveman Barbell, and Phil, Yosh Training. We are here talking about different gym and training environments, fad diets, diet plans, and workouts for us, and also eating for how you train. So today, let's have Phil kick us off with different gyms and training environments.
So I've worked out in probably maybe almost 10 different gyms. In the past few years, I've lived in a good number of different cities. I've worked out in small gyms, where the owner just like sits at the desk all day. And I've worked out in, LA Fitness, 24-hour fitnesses. And there's so much to be said for like the culture of a different gym can enhance your training. It can make you feel better. It can make going to the gym, a better part of your day. If you're someone who doesn't really care as much about that, then it's not as big of a deal to be going to like a LA Fitness or a 24-hour fitness. And, for the months that I was doing that, it was, it gets the job done. Usually they have a lot of equipment, but one of those, real good crew gyms where it's like, everyone's, they see that you're going for a hard lift and people start cheering, and then you get to the top and people are clapping. I mean, you can't get that in some of those big corporate gyms. And I do miss some of the gyms I used to train at. There's a different culture, whether, you're looking for like powerlifting style gyms, or, I belonged to a gym in Albany for a while that a large portion of the members were runners like I am. So, we would lift together, and then sometimes we would go for group runs together, which, it's something that you can't get anywhere. It's a completely different world, one gym to the next.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could talk forever about this. I've worked in multiple gyms. Like throughout the course of my training, my undergrad. I even think of like collegiate level gyms, just like the different atmosphere that you have being on sports teams, and even going way back to high school. I agree with you when you were saying like the specific gyms kind of fulfill a specific niche to what you're doing. And I believe you have to kind of, along with setting your goals as in fitness, you have to kind of choose a gym that correlates with the goals that you have. Like I worked at Planet Fitness, and for some people, they went to Planet Fitness, like it was for the no judgment free zone. They felt safe and comfortable there. But there was actually more people who used Planet Fitness for the convenience of having multiple gyms in multiple locations because they traveled a lot. So they knew that no matter where they went, they had a secure place to exercise, because a lot of hotel gyms might not have the equipment that you need. At least there's a specific amount of equipment, and it's universal throughout all of the Planet Fitnesses. And that was like a big thing for a lot of people. And that kind of went for someone's goal who just want to stay in shape and stay healthy during that time. But I've been in a lot of gyms like where in college, when you're training with your friends or your peers or your fellow athletes, it's a different type of vibe. You get that, like you said, the clapping and the cheering. And if you're going for a PR, everyone kind of stops what they're doing and they look at you and they're asking you like, hey, you got this. They're pushing you. They're trying to make you do a lot more than what you think you're capable of. So it definitely goes with goal specific. If you're trying to be a power lifter, maybe you shouldn't go to a gym that there's a lot of bodybuilders at. You might not be getting that same type of motivation. You might not see the same type of people. And that's not saying that you can't train at any gym, because you can train at whatever gym. If it's a proximity thing, you can train there. But I believe that different gyms have a specific group of people that work out there. Like I've been to multiple gyms too, where there was a powerlifting gym, and it was like, I'm doing a lot of body weight exercises, but people are doing heavy deadlifts, heavy squats. Even the equipment that they had was specific to their gym. And that's probably something that you two might have come across with like CrossFit gyms. You go in there and you're looking for a barbell, or not a barbell, you're looking for a bench, and they don't have that. They have just, bars and pull-up bars and Olympic rings and stuff, and it might not fit what your goal is. So if you're a power lifter, you might not want to go to a CrossFit gym. If you're trying to do CrossFit, you might not want to go to a Planet Fitness. As a trainer, it does mean a lot to pick a gym that can work for you. But if you have a trainer, they can pretty much make anything work. So I know for me, I've trained at multiple places where there's limited equipment. You just be creative and make it work.
Yeah, I feel like along with that, what you guys said, especially Dion, because you said you worked at a Planet Fitness.
Yep.
Yeah, so I wasn't a trainer at Planet Fitness, but I worked as like a nighttime janitor. And so I got a free membership out of it. And when it was convenient, I'd work out there. And I noticed a lot of people took it as more of it's like a bar. You know, you go to a bar to hang out and meet new people and have fun, and you do what you like to do, which is drink alcohol. You got the people who go to a gym not to work out and better themselves, but to go meet new people and find people with like-minded ideas. You know what I mean? Like I used to work at the YMCA. The YMCA is a little bit more of I don't want to call it a country club, because I mean, I know obviously there's a lot of different YMCAs, but the YMCA that in our hometown, you have a middle-aged population, typically white, who just go to the gym because it's convenient and they have their friend group there, you know. But then, like you were saying, Phil and Dion, you have those powerlifting gyms, you have the CrossFit boxes, you have a lot of homegrown studios that offer their own thing. And if you're really looking for like more of a niche, then I think those are definitely the places you want to go. And those are definitely the places you're going to get the best quality. But if you kind of just want to go for a general fitness, you know, I would say your commercial gym's not that bad. But once you go to a commercial gym, kind of go through that beginner stages and figure out what you like to do, that's when you kind of have to go to a lesser known gym for sure.
Yeah, and that's how I felt with when I used to work at, like we said, I used to work at a bunch of gyms. I worked at a college gym. My favorite place, honestly, was to work at a local gym to our hometown, Fit Happens. And it was it had like a weird vibe and environment, because it wasn't like you went there to be a power lifter. You didn't go there to be a bodybuilder. You didn't go to their it was everything kind of encompassed into one. And everybody was a family. Like, you would know the person because there'd be like at times 3 people just hanging out in the gym, all working on separate things, but you would still know what their goals were. And that, I haven't kind of gotten that same feel at another gym in a long time. Like, I've been to places like Catalyst Fitness in Buffalo where there's 80 people in the gym at one time. There's no equipment free. You're like waiting in line to get a specific piece of equipment. I've worked and been in places where you're the only one in the gym, and that specific place, if it happens, that to me was kind of like the environment that I enjoyed. Everyone knew each other. You pushed each other to work on your goals, but you weren't working on like the same thing. You weren't really in competition. Was I going to be the best soccer player because of that? Probably not. You know, I would probably have to go to a place where there's other soccer players, so I would have that kind of internal competition to drive myself to want to work harder. And that's where I think once you kind of hone in on your goals, you have to find a place like that. But that was a place that I enjoyed, like starting up, like, and being involved in, just having that type of family, everyone wanting you to be better, but not so much as being your competition.
No, I agree with you. And the cool thing about Fit Happens, like you said, it isn't a niche type gym. You know, you have everyone doing different things. There's people who are doing CrossFit. There's a lot of bodybuilders at Fit. There's powerlifters too, though. There's the people that go to the half court and just play basketball. You got the women who just go for the spin classes. Like, you have so many people going there, but everyone in our area knows Fit is pretty much the place to be. If you want to get serious about working out and have people treat you right, then Fit Happens is that gym, man.
I think that place owes us a sponsorship now. Mention them like every episode.
I was about to say, I think it's the 3rd episode that we've mentioned Fit Happens.
We should, right? Be like, hey, I want like $2 an episode.
There's something to consider for like, there's a lot of factors that go into, you know, when you're considering like what gym you're going to go to. You know, when I moved to Houston 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, the apartment complex that I was living in had a gym. And when I, you know, first heard that from the leasing office, I was like, that's really cool. And I went in, and they had treadmills, which was cool because, you know, sometimes it was, you know, bad weather, couldn't run outside. And they had dumbbells up to 50 pounds, and then like one of those all-in-one cable machines. And that was it. Okay. And when I trained in the gym, pretty much for the past like 4 years, I've been focusing mostly on, you know, just like powerlifting type stuff. My training is like running and lifting like that. But they didn't have any barbells. They didn't have anything like that. So I was like, okay, I got to find a gym now. So I was living in Houston. I had the choice between, you know, there were so many commercial gyms, and there were so many there's like world famous gyms out there. If you follow powerlifting, there's a guy, Russ Orhii, and he trains out of Alphalete in Houston. And I was like, ooh, maybe I should go to that gym where the famous powerlifter trains. And I looked it up, and from where I lived, which was, pretty much in the city, it was like way southeast of where I lived. It would have taken 45 minutes to get there every day. I was like, no way. So I looked for some more, and there were a lot of gyms that were like, these really cool, really well-equipped places that were just so far from where I lived. And there's something to be said for like, convenience really matters. And I ended up going with a 24-hour fitness for the period of time while I lived there, because it was just like a mile away. And as much as, it would have been cool to train with, competition style plates or be around people who were like real strong, I knew it was only like, sort of temporary, and taking convenience into account is important. I mean, if your gym is 45 minutes away, you probably might go, a few times less per month.
So that kind of like sparked something in my brain. Do you believe that convenience, as in closer to your work, is more important than closer to your home? Do you think that people would rather go to a gym that's closer to where they work and go after work, or would they rather have a gym closer to their house? Like, would they be more apt to go to the gym if it's closer to their home or closer to their work?
I think that's individual. Some people are probably one way, and some people are probably another. Where I was talking about in Houston, the gym that I chose was really close to my house, but not close to any of the jobs that I had when I worked there or when I lived there. And in Albuquerque, the gym that I went to wasn't that close either. But I think that for me, it's closer to my home is what I prefer. But I think there's some people who would prefer closer to their work.
I think for me, I guess I have a biased opinion because my work would be at gym. So if my work in gym were, closer to my house, that'd be great. But I think, I talked to my girlfriend about this quite a bit because she struggles with motivation sometimes. She's in good shape. She likes working out, but just motivation can be there. And so she lived an hour away from her work. So the commute was long. And then her gym was pretty much at my house. We would work out together. And so that's a mile away from her house. But she would go to work, drive back, and then she would just be so tired she wouldn't be able to do it. So I think that has to do a lot with once you get out of work, if you want to work out after work, you have to get there. And so if it's 2 minutes away from your work, it's a lot easier than, a 20-minute drive and then 2 minutes away from your house.
Yeah, see, that's like that had me thinking, because I remember when I was training at Planet Fitness as a trainer, I would tell people who are lacking motivation, because we would get human beings in there all the time who'd come talk to me and be like, I lack motivation. What do I do? Like, I don't want to go to the gym. And I'd always tell them, I'd say, you know what you need to do? Get a gym by your work. And then on your way home, just sit in the parking lot. Eventually you'll walk into the gym. I'm like, if you don't go in the gym, just drive in the parking lot, sit there for like 5 minutes and then go. And someone came in, I want to say it was a month later, and they go, you know what? I've done this every day for the past month. I've just sat in the parking lot, and today's the day I came in the gym. I felt really good about that, but I was like, why did it take you a month? And how did I see you just sitting in your car? Yeah, but they did it. And like you were saying, I feel like it's hard for some people to just drive home, and then they want to do the like, oh, I'll sit and eat and just take a break, and then I'll go to the gym. And they just never leave their house. They just get trapped.
Yeah, because I think what people fall in the trap into is I'm going to go home, take a shower, or not even take a shower. I'm going to go home, put my workout stuff on, take a real quick bite, and then I'm going to go to the gym. And then you sit there in your nice recliner and you eat your meal, and then you start getting lethargic, and then you don't want to go to the gym anymore, So just pack a real quick lunch, man. Just get it done.
Oh, man, this is so tough. It's hard. But talking about eating and being lethargic, so do you want to just jump in the fad diets then? Do we want to just hit the big meat and potatoes of today's discussion? How do you feel about fad diets, peeps?
Before we go into this, anyone who listens to this, take note, we're not giving any dietary advice, because if you take it and then die, I'm not liable. We did not tell you to do anything with your diet.
I like the disclaimer on that one. I mean, I guess I got to start off with the biggest one that kills me. The let's not eat carbs diet, which is actually pretty much everything I've ever heard. Oh, I'm going to do keto, which is kind of where it falls under the umbrella. If everyone's like, I'm going to do keto and I'm not going to eat carbs. And then I've had so many discussions. Sorry if I'm getting a little heated, but I've had so many discussions. And I just kind of got to the point where I want to be, all right, we're just going to cut macronutrients out of your diet. Cool. Stop drinking water for the rest of your life. Once again, disclaimer, don't stop drinking water. I said that to someone. Someone was talking to me like, all right, can you stop drinking water? And they're like, no, I need that to live. I'm like, exactly. So why are you cutting out macronutrients out of your diet? And half of the people who I've conversed with about the keto diet don't understand the harmful effects from having excess ketone bodies. They don't understand the cycle. They don't know about getting blood work done, talking to your physician. Half of them just read a book. Actually, that's going a little far. Half of them went on Facebook, saw that someone, like, if we're going to be real, we're getting real. Went on Facebook, saw their friend who lost 10 pounds, has abs now, and said, I've done keto, and has no information backing it, and don't even want to try to research it. And every time I've asked, like, hey, what have you done to research this? They go, I didn't. I just thought you just cut out carbs and that's it. And that kind of frustrates me. And that makes me wonder where these people have gotten this information from and why they're so hesitant to look it up for themselves or study it or even ask a professional. And when you ask a professional, I feel like they're even still reluctant to take their advice because they're just flooded with all this information about how this diet is the thing to do. And that it's honestly just a modified Atkins diet. And if you ever read the Atkins diet, it causes liver failure, kidney failure. Half of the people have had heart attacks. Like, it just caused so many harmful effects on your body. And it's research. This stuff has been researched, found to not work the way you want it to work. Like you're not just going to lose a whole bunch of fat. Half of the time you lose muscle mass and bone density. So you're not losing what you really want to lose. You're just your body composition, so everyone, body composition is what matters. Your body composition is not good.
So I could talk about like each individual fad diet on their own, but like since you were just talking about keto, the way that I think about any of these, fad diets or like specialty diets is that they're always sold as like the magic pill or like, the magic thing. Like, you've been having trouble, dieting and losing weight, but if you do this, then it's going to work. If you can just cut out carbs entirely and only eat raw meat with your bare hands, like, it's always like, the only reason you haven't succeeded is because you haven't tried this. That's the problem that I have with all of these diets. And, keto is a good example of that, people don't say like, you could do this and succeed. They don't say, when they're talking about like, my diet or this diet or that diet, it's like, oh, you could do this diet. You could be vegetarian. You could be vegan. You could try keto. You could, have a Mediterranean diet. You could do this and, succeed with your weight loss. They say the only reason you're not succeeding is because you're not doing this. And it's that kind of marketing that makes me like just so upset because it puts so many people out. And then when they try it, if they fail, then they think they're never going to be able to lose the weight. Keto is just, I don't agree with any diet that is radical. Like, when it comes with any of these fad diets, if you start describing it to someone and they start making a face, then it's not something I'm going to agree with. I mean, keto is one example, like the carnivore diet, something that's in the news these days. And if you start describing it and it sounds not fun, if it sounds like you don't want to do it, if it's in like a radical change to the way that you're eating in terms of cutting out an entire group of food, like an entire macro, like you were saying, like, then I probably won't like it. I mean, if someone told me they were going to go vegan, I would be like, ooh, how are you going to do that to be healthy? If I had a client that was telling me they're going to go vegan, I mean, it's very difficult to, get all the micronutrients you need and the proper distribution of macronutrients. And really the thing that I think when it comes to like diet, that most people are just trying to do something that's too crazy because they don't want to do the simpler thing of just tracking what they eat, being a little, learning how big certain portion sizes are, prioritizing proteins and leaner things, and going there's the most recent, I think it was 2015, most recent dietary guidelines from I think it's the FDA for Americans is just, it's really good. It's like, aim for this much protein, have this many servings of red meat, this many servings of fish, and it's not crazy. It doesn't sound like a radical thing. And if your diet seems radical, then it's probably not going to be fun. If it's not fun, you're probably not going to be able to do it. If you're like, I'm going to go keto, but I love bread, it's not going to last long.
That's super true, man. And I was going to say, just to touch on that too, I just wanted to say that a lot of the diets that come out, like the fad diets, were actually enacted for people at a certain caliber. Like we always mention like high level athletes or high level this. Like if you're at the higher levels and you're trying to drop 1% body fat to get to a specific goal, or you're trying to increase your athletic edge or your competitive edge, these diets can help you under the right under monitoring what you do and the right advice and people overseeing what you're doing. But if you're just like randomly cutting out macronutrients to lose 10 pounds when your body fat percentage is at 35 and going to 34 isn't going to change how you look or how you feel, that's a big difference than when you're a professional athlete and you're at 8% body fat and you're going to 6. Like if you're trying to hit a specific mile time or a specific 40 time, it changes whether you're just trying to have general health or you're trying to be at the top of your game. So that's my feel too. Like just add that in, like, because Phil said that he mentioned that for people it's not the same, and I felt like I left out that part where it's like higher athletes could use these, but it's not really for everyone.
When you were talking about how different things work for different people, especially with body composition, if you have a 35 BMI and you want to lose weight with keto, it's not going to work that well because keto is not a viable way to have a diet. Whereas if you're at 8% going to 6, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that if you cut out carbs and have 0, your body's going to shed water like crazy. So these people lose 10, 15 pounds real quick and they're like, oh my goodness, keto's amazing. And then that's when your body kind of starts kicking into starvation mode, saying, where are my carbohydrates? Where's my fuel? And then all these other health adversities start kicking in. And, and I think that's why people don't listen to professionals, is because their friend goes and loses 15 pounds and, in 2 weeks and says, hey, I lost 15 pounds. This is awesome. That's good enough for them. You know what I mean? That's okay, because they watch that first person. I watched my friend go to keto and lose 15 pounds. They don't know it's because it's all the water weight they just shred in a week. Mm-hmm. They think it's because it works.
Yeah, and there's like you were saying with the special populations, like elite athletes. Have you ever seen like one of those World's Strongest Man full day of eating videos where they're like, here's the part where I eat 15 eggs and 12 pieces of bacon and 6 pieces of toast, and it's like everyone has to take into account what are you doing in a day? What are your goals? If you're like you're talking like someone who's just like a person who's generally trying to get more healthy, then your diet shouldn't be something that's really out there. To just be like, generally healthy, eat some vegetables, have a good distribution of proteins, and eat a little less so that you're able to lose weight. You shouldn't be trying to do something that's like, the one weird trick. Like, the one weird trick is just to eat a little less.
Yeah, that's something big that I try to push for with all my clients and explain to them, is that if you're going for general weight loss, it's calories in versus calories out. There's no magic science to this. There's no magic pill. It's literally record what you eat. Figure out what works for you, what foods you like, and what you're going to eat. All my 3 basic rules of dieting has always been: if you can't read it, don't eat it. So if there's no nutrition facts on anything, no nutrition labels, you probably shouldn't put that in your body, because you're not going to know what you're fueling yourself with. And it could be a whole bunch of harmful stuff, or it could be too much. You might be eating 4 servings of something, and you're thinking you're getting 1. And one of the biggest, I want to say, offenders of this were the Lenny and Larry cookies. Have you guys ever had one of those?
Yeah, those were bad. Real bad.
So on the package it says like in big letters, it's all marketing on the package in big letters. It says 16 grams of protein per cookie, super delicious, birthday cake flavor. You flip it over to the back and you read the nutrition label. It's actually 2 servings and it's 200 calories per serving. So one cookie's 400. Yeah, so people are just mowing down cookies thinking that you're like, oh, I got my 16 grams of protein. Like, this is great. And then you look on the back and it says like for 2, you cut the cookie in half, and no one does that. And that's really what gets people, is that they might be eating too much. And that's like why I said, if you can't read it, don't eat it. Calories in versus calories out. Make sure you record what you eat. And my last one, which is the biggest thing that I try to stress the most with my clients, and this the most with people in general, is that food is food. There's no breakfast food. There's no lunch food. There's no dinner. There's no like such thing as dessert. You can honestly eat an omelet for breakfast. You can eat chicken parmesan at 6 a.m. If that's what you're gonna eat and use to fuel your body, do that. I would rather someone eat chicken parmesan than crush 4 bowls of cereal in the morning because they don't want to eat quote unquote dinner foods at breakfast time. But yeah, you're eating 7 servings of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Now I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch and I don't want to hate on it, but usually people eat things that are high calorie. And that goes back to days of like farming, where people would be farming all day and they had to eat gigantic breakfast. Now most people are riding in their car for an hour before they get to work, sitting at a desk or doing minimal activity. You don't need to eat 1,000 calories in the morning. Like, it's not necessary. That's the hardest part about dieting for me, is when I hear that kind of talk. And that's why I try to stress on a lot, is like, pick something you enjoy to eat. And just make sure you understand how many calories you're burning and how many calories you're taking in. I just can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I'll make like sample meals for people, and I'll have steak, twice baked potato, and some asparagus, and it's like 500-600 calories. And they look at me with these huge eyes, like, how did you get 600 calories out of a steak and potato dinner? And it's like, well, if you think about it, a serving of steak is only what, 4 to 6 ounces. It's half of what you get in a restaurant. You know, it's literally a deck of cards. And then you go to a restaurant and you get 2-3 servings of meat, and then your twice baked potato. One potato is 110 calories. Why is your twice baked potato 1,000 calories? Well, let's look at the sour cream, the butter, the bacon bits. What are you putting in there? You know, and what do you cook your asparagus on? Do you grill it? Do you bake it? You know, there's so many different things you can do. You know, like you said, Dion, find something you like and eat it, and make sure you know what serving size is for that thing you like. You know, you can't sit there and eat 3 pounds of salmon and go, whew, that was good. That was only 400 calories of salmon.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects to look at in terms of like behavior change too, because it's like if you're talking to someone about like how to change their diet, some people respond really well to like slow change, and some people respond very well to like a hard reset. And some people, it's like, all right, you know, here's exactly how you should be eating. Start on Monday, and then they go grocery shopping Sunday, and then they stick to the plan and they're doing it, and then they're there. And for some people, you know, giving up all those things that they were used to will be too psychologically difficult. And you got to think of like, you know, if you're not one of those people who handles, you know, switching your diet really quickly, well, then you could try doing it much slower. Try like, you know, okay, this week, you know, normally I have like 3 beers at the end of the night. Let's go down to 1. Normally I have like a bowl of ice cream every night. Let's only do every other night. You know, if you can make change in a positive direction, even if it's not a big change, you'll get used to it. You'll learn like, all right, maybe I'll have, you know, I'll stick with the ice cream every night, but I'll do 1 scoop instead too. You know, if you can start making positive changes, then, you know, you can keep going on that, you know, road towards success, and you can finding whatever works for you. You know, if you're doing it, or I'm doing it, or anyone out there is trying to find, you know, how can I make a healthy diet work for me? You know, that's the question you have to answer. You know, you don't want to like read a book on dieting, you know, eating a traditionally Indian diet when you're an Italian person from New York City. You know, you're gonna be like, well, I don't know how to cook biryani, so, you know, how do I, like, what's the serving size of chicken parm? You know, like, I don't have enough time to make breakfast in the morning. You know, like finding what the right way for you, just like with exercise. Not everyone's going to be a power lifter. Not everyone is going to like the Mediterranean diet, or not everyone likes carrots. Maybe they like one thing and not another. If you tell someone like you got to eat kale, and they're like, well, I don't like kale, so I guess I'm just going to keep eating Big Macs. You got to find the way of getting to a healthy diet that works for you, and it's just like finding that for exercise. It's all individual.
There's the I'm gonna start calling them philisms. There's the philism of the episode, because he dropped once again another bombshell. It's all about behavioral change. I feel like that's the craziest thing too, is that people get so down on themselves because they don't have a six-pack and they don't eat what they're supposed to and they don't have the job they're supposed to. Phil's about to get into life now. Like, your girlfriend hates you. Everything sucks. It's all a behavioral change. You're not going to get in shape in 2 weeks by drinking cabbage soup and by, starving yourself and just getting on the treadmill for 4 hours a day. It's going to take those behavioral change, those behavioral modifications to not only get you in shape, not only get you on the right diet, but to get you through college, to get you through a tough relationship, to get you through an abuse, those. Yes. Phil with the philism once again.
Yeah. Can we get a round of applause for Phil?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's true. Micro changes in behavior are the key to success. You have to have small victories, right? Like you can't just expect to one day go from eating 3,000 calories to eating 1,500 and feeling like you're able to conquer the world. Things have to happen in micro stages, and you have to kind of work through them together. And it's really hard sometimes. It's actually probably one of the hardest things, because I had that struggle when I was dieting years back. It feels like years back, but it was about a year ago. I was trying to bulk, and Andrew could attest. I was like 155, and I'm like, I'm gonna make it to 185. I'm gonna do it. One day I'll get there. So I started, like every year I would bulk for a whole year straight. I wouldn't do the winter bulk season where I just eat like crap. I would slowly increase my calories every 2 months in a periodization, and had my whole plan set out. Every 2 months, I'll just increase my calories. And then I hit 165, and I was so happy. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to get to like 175. And then I took a year off, just trained normally. Then once again, started bulking again. And eventually, before I moved out to Buffalo, that's what I ended up doing. Was I'm like, all right, I'm going to take these next 2 years. I'm just going to steadily increase my calories, train X amount of days a week to whatever my program is, and I'm going to get to 185. And I hit it, and it was a lot more difficult than just all right, I'm going to put on 15 pounds in the summer. Like, let's go. And it was just micro changes to the diet, micro changes to my training. And it's so hard. Like, you really got to do what works for you. And it's definitely good to get a professional opinion on what works for you and like how they can help you, or what they might be able to see that you're not seeing.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, like, for what you just said, you really took your diet and scaled it the way you're supposed to. It went upwards at a very, very nice, incline, and you had your calories go up every 2 months, and you stayed consistent. And that worked for you because you had, a good mental attitude about getting to 185. On the opposite side of that, me being who I am, having that, like, I have a very, very hyper competitive mentality. I am a very anything, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. So when I first got into I want to reach my goal of 300 pounds body weight, that was about 3 years ago. And I was sitting at 185. And I went from 185 to 220 in about 4 months. And my blood pressure was 160 over 120. My eyes were yellow. The only thing I could do, I couldn't reach down, and I'm not even going to say touch my toes. I could not reach down and touch my kneecaps. The only thing I could do was squat, bench, and deadlift. And I had a 550 some odd pound squat. I'm not saying it did not work. It did not work. It got me strong, but it did not work. And I literally was going to die. I was going to die. Got that all figured out. Never even got on medication. Just ended up really fixing my diet. Got back down to 185 because clearly it was all fat. I put zero muscle on. And then from 2017 until now, I did pretty much what Dion has done. And I've gone from 185 to 220, same spread over 3 years. And my blood pressure is 112 over 73. My eyes, I can see, like if I used to wake up and I would think I was having a stroke. Like like I would wake up and I'm serious. Like I was literally killing myself to get to 300 pounds body weight, not realizing that great things take time, man. Like if I got to 300 pounds, what would I have done? Squatted 600 and then died? I'd rather get to 300 in 20 years and then squat 1,000 and then die.
Why is everything
like you were
die?
just saying, no matter what, I gotta die, but it depends on how I do it, you know? And that kind of all brings this whole conversation back around to the original point of these fad diets and how you can't maintain a fad diet. Because I'm not saying my diet was a fad diet, but it was definitely a fuck skinny get huge diet. And I followed it to a T, and turns out the person who wrote it was kind of an idiot, and I'm happy I don't know, man. It was definitely an interesting time. Because like I said, there's people who go in the gym, they're not motivated, and they don't want to do it. I think motivation is bullshit. I think discipline is what's going to get you anywhere you want in life, which is why I liked what Phil said about behavioral modification. That being said, you can't be disciplined in the wrong craft. Just do your research and make sure you're not following this rabbit down the rabbit hole and getting yourself on, you know, keto, the Atkins, these all liquid diets, you know, intermittent fasting, even is a little scary. And you just have to really just change your behavior day by day, work a little bit, get 1% better, because in 100 days you'll be 100% better. So it's not that long. It does not take that much.
I honestly don't have a problem with intermittent fasting in some forms, but it's, you know, it can be done poorly, just like all the other things. And like you were saying about discipline and motivation, you know, you can be as motivated as possible, as disciplined as possible, but if you're putting up a bunch of roadblocks by giving yourself a really difficult diet to stick to, then it's going to take you a lot more discipline than if you slowly get there and find out what way is best for you. You know, finding that individual best diet will take less discipline to stick to, because you'll have found those healthy foods that you enjoy more. And there's some information that I think a lot of people don't know, that, you know, people who are generally more stressed tend to eat more when they're, like, you know, having like a more stressful time. People who sleep less tend to have less favorable outcomes when it comes to diets. There was a study that I read once where people on identical diets, without getting too much into exactly how they did it, they had one group sleeping a normal amount, you know, 8 hours-ish, and they had another group sleeping like, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours, and they all lost weight. And it was about the same amount of weight that they lost, but the group that wasn't sleeping enough lost 50% fat, 50% lean mass, and then the group that was sleeping enough lost like 80 or 90% fat and like 10% lean mass. And if you're trying to lose weight, you know, you're like, say you're like 250 and you want to get down to 200, and you do lose those 50 pounds, but you lose 10 pounds of fat and 40 pounds of muscle, then you're still not going to be in a great place. And there's also research on, you know, if you try to do any of it, like you were saying, what was it, 4 months and 40 pounds? If you try to do any of it too fast, yeah, you'll have negative outcomes. You know, if you try to gain weight too fast, you're not going to be gaining the right kind of weight. And it's the same thing with losing weight. You know, if you're trying to gain muscle, you can't do like 100 pounds in a year. You just, you know, you're not going to be gaining muscle. You're going to be gaining more fat. There's certain research on, you know, how much muscle you can gain per month, you know, even if you're training as much as possible, you know, and the same thing goes for losing weight too. You know, if you lose too much weight too quickly, then you're going to be losing muscle too. And like Dion said, it's not about weight. You know, you could be healthy at 200 and unhealthy at 150. You know, it's about body composition. You know, you want to be losing body fat when you're trying to lose weight. You don't want to be losing muscle. You want to be like a healthy, capable, like fit person. You know, whatever that means to you, whether that's, you know, being able to run a little bit or do a little bit in the gym, or being more capable when you're like playing with your kids. You know, if you would rather lose all the fat and still be able to like pick up your, you know, kids as they're getting older and being more able, and that doesn't come from, you know, losing all the muscle that is on your body.
Yeah, one article I actually read, and I'll put the article in the description because I can't name it right now. But the coach was saying that is actually detrimental to your health if you lose more than 1% of your body weight a week. So if you're a 200-pound individual and you lose more than 2 pounds in a week, that's not good, not good at all. And so I think that's important for people out there who, hop on a diet and lose 10 pounds in a week. It's like you need to really, really understand what you're doing to yourself because it's not good. No, and that's why I tell people who I train, look at body composition, don't look at the scale. Because if you lose 6 inches in your waist but still weigh the same, you're gonna hate yourself. You're not gonna realize that 6 inches just fell off your waist.
Yeah, that's a tough concept to understand for people who kind of get flooded by imagery and internet facts. Like, oh, you need to, like Phil said way earlier, like you need to lose this. This is a proper diet. You need to lose this amount of weight to be the best you will ever be. But in reality, the best you that you could be is losing 5% body fat and still staying at the exact same weight you're at. It's just that now your body functions better and you feel better. Your blood pressure is down. Your oxygen is up. Like you're doing everything correct in a manner that helps your own personal goals and your own personal being. But yet the scale might not reflect an overall body weight. Your body mass is not always the thing that you need to focus on. And that's just, I think that's just hard in the era that we live in where the information is sent at you at such a high rate that you lose the things that mean the most. You're just like, oh, drop 20 pounds. I need to lose 20 pounds. My doctor told me I need to lose 20 pounds, but he didn't tell me when I need to lose 20 pounds by. That must be the way I got to go. And then next thing you know, you're just like you said, you fell down the rabbit hole, but the rabbit hole is this big like dungeon where you're just trapped now and you're upset because you don't know how to get out of it. And you just took a little bit more time to just like weed out. And it's hard for people to weed that stuff out too.
Me researching the 30 minutes I did for this episode, 2013, the cotton ball diet came out where people were saying that you should eat 5 cotton balls before your meal so your stomach would be more inflated and you wouldn't get full, and the cotton balls would be 0 calories. I don't know how people got up with that, but the cotton balls were actually creating intestinal blockages and killing people because your body can't digest cotton like that. And so what you said, take the minute and research and realize what you're looking at actually isn't, because if I went to the person who asked me for personal training and they're like, hey, you got some diet advice? Like, listen to this, bud. I got the thing for you. You eat 5 cotton balls before each meal, you're going to lose weight. Who's going to think that's a great idea? But people were dying in 2013 because you just thought cotton balls made you lose weight. And then there's the cabbage soup diet where you drank water distilled with cabbage. And you did that for a week and you're supposed to lose all this weight. And it's like, do you really want to make that drastic of a change in a week to just go back to your original self? Like you're going to do way more harm than good.
God, you know what? You saying that kind of brought to my attention something I don't think we wrote in our discussion topics, but something I kind of want to talk about and see how you guys feel about it. So weight loss surgeries, right? Mm-hmm. That's not in here, but that's something that I've come in contact with, obviously, as a trainer, and those kind of make me a little bit more sad than most, because I've heard stories about people getting like gastric bypass surgery and then still not changing their eating habits and either dying because they eat like their stomach expands too much and they're like it ruptures, or they just gain all the weight back and then now they can't eat correctly to lose the weight because their stomach is damaged. Like weight loss surgeries, I guess, like if you need it and you're at that stage where it's vital to your life to get it. But I've definitely heard of people getting and talked to people who are just like 100 pounds overweight. They didn't need, it wasn't that necessary. They just didn't want to do the work so they got the surgery, but they never changed their eating habits. Like, how do you?
I got something real quick on that, because I actually just had this conversation with my girlfriend yesterday about what I thought about gastric. To make the comparison as simple as possible, I'm not going to talk about my bank account, but my bank account definitely doesn't have a bunch of money in it. I'm not by any means rich, So if you were to take my bank account and put $10 million in it, and say, okay, you're rich now, go have fun. I'm not going to have $10 million in probably a couple years. You don't know how to spend money. You don't know how to be rich. That being said, you take someone who's 350 pounds and you take maybe 75 pounds off them and then make their stomach the size of an apple, and then tell them now you have to change your eating habits and your sedentary lifestyle. You're going to sit there and you're going to get that quote unquote $10 million because you just lost all that weight and you're happier than a pig in shit. But then you don't know how to be a quote unquote millionaire. So you just go back to those old lifestyle habits, kind of like what you were saying, Phil, with the behavioral change. You can't just, if I were to make behavioral changes and then go be a millionaire, I would probably be a lot more successful than just winning the lottery. That being said, if you make those behavioral changes and become very, very good in shape, you're going to be obviously much more successful than just losing the weight.
I think that the way that you were putting it is, I like that metaphor. I think you put it really well. You can't rely solely on a doctor because it's still your body. And you can't rely solely on surgery for, almost anything. If you think about like torn ligament or something and they have it reattached surgically, that's not the end of, you're not better. You still have to do physical therapy, and then you have to work on getting your if it was your left knee or something, you got to work on getting your left leg to be back to having symmetrical strength with your right leg. And it's the same thing with spending habits and investing, and it would be the same thing with eating and behavioral habits. It's, you can't just rely on a surgery or just rely on a doctor. You're the one who you're your body. You can't rely on other people to solve your problems for you. And it's not like we're blaming people who are overweight, but it's that when you're trying to make these changes, they have to be some people really do need those surgeries, but it's twofold. You got to get the surgery and make those changes. And sometimes the doctors who do it are really good about making sure someone has tried those behavioral changes and they're already on the right path, and they're just skipping a couple steps, and maybe they do it well and they keep going. But a lot of people, they rely on it solely. They're like, all right, I'm gonna get this. They're just gonna take the weight off, shrink my stomach, and then I'm just gonna be able to eat whatever I want. And really, it's supposed to help you get better habits, but it doesn't do it for you. And it goes the same way with cholesterol. Some people take medications for cholesterol because diet and exercise and lifestyle habits can only do so much. But that doesn't mean that those people who take those medications shouldn't still be trying to eat well and be active. You got to take charge of your own life.
You said it about the healthy diet, the healthy eating habits and stuff. I've gotten multiple clients who had these surgeries, and they would always bring me in their paperwork from their doctor, and they gave them a full diet plan from they had them speak to a nutritionist, and it was pretty much hey, now you have to eat this for the rest of your life. You can't have rice because it expands too much in your stomach and it can cause issues. You can't eat this amount of pasta because it's going to cause issues in your gastrointestinal tract because it doesn't get broken down because it bypasses your stomach, goes to your large intestine, things like that. And it's just at that point now you're limiting your lifestyle, and are you gaining quality of life from it? And could you have not done these same tactics or followed this same diet plan previous to this?
Yeah, and I think the scary part about gastric, it's only a 10% success rate, if not even lower than that. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure the success rate's only about 10%.
I mean, even if it's under 50, that's not a good percentage to spend that much money on surgery and then have it maybe not work.
Yeah, and that's that's the thing too with the behavioral changes. A lot of these people have to go through and actually, do courses and sign up for classes, and it just, it's not enough.
Yeah. So, someone mentioned at one point that fad diets includes intermittent fasting, and I've heard some very smart people in the fitness industry talk about it, because it's actually the way some people do it is more common than you would think, because a lot of people, you wake up, you have a cup of coffee for breakfast, and you don't eat till lunch, and then if you have lunch at noon and dinner at 6, that's pretty restricted feeding window. but like people aren't thinking about it, so it's not like they're doing it even on purpose. And I don't think that, like any of these other things, I don't think that it's like the silver bullet of weight loss. It's not the thing that will get you there. Like Dion said, it's calories in, calories out. If not eating breakfast helps you restrict your calories because you're not really hungry in the morning, but you're hungry at lunch. But if you're only having 2 meals, then you're able to lose weight better than if you had a third. And that's how it works for you. And there's a lot of ways that people can get to that healthy diet. And I just wanted to bring up the intermittent fasting thing because I don't think that it's inherently wrong as a method, but like a lot of these other things and like a lot of these fad diets, it's not about does it work or doesn't it work. It's that it could work. It's not the only way. If having restricted carbs works for you, if cutting meat out works for you, just thinking that anything could work. There's no silver bullet. There's no, magic pill. And, I think that that's a problem with the way that it's marketed. Yeah.
I agree 100%. I actually almost didn't put in intermittent fasting because for me, intermittent fasting has a lot more research behind it than a lot of other diets. The only reason why I did put it in is because I wanted your guys' 2 cents on how the pendulum swings with intermittent fasting. Because sometimes, like you said, technically speaking, you're fasting if you're eating at noon and eating dinner at 6, then maybe even having a snack at 8.
Right.
Because from 8 until noon, that's 16, 17 hours of not eating, which is pretty much intermittent fasting. But then I see these people who will go 22 hours without eating and then give them a 2-hour time window. Or even I've seen people do a 48-hour fast and then give them 4 hours to eat. And so I know, let's say you go 12 to 16 hours without eating, that's intermittent fasting, and I don't mind. But it's the people who really push the intermittent fasting to the limit, quote unquote limit, because I think that's way past the limit, that kind of made me put them in. Because I just wanted to, get your guys' 2 cents on the marketing of intermittent fasting, not so much we can go into science behind it too, but more so the marketing.
Well, yeah, I just want to get you on that one because that's true. And like Phil said, at the very beginning, if you're ever talking about a diet and your eyes open up and you're like, I'm not going to eat for the next 2 days. People like to throw the extremes because they want people to think it's some impossible thing and that it's the next level. It's something that's so impossible, but if you pay for it, you can do it. And intermittent fasting, I've done that. I guess unconsciously. Like Phil said, I would go to Magic tournaments and I'd play a whole tournament for 6 hours, but then I would eat a lot in the morning and a lot right after the tournament. So for that whole 6-hour window, I didn't eat. And I'm kind of but I'm still getting my calories in before and after in two larger meals. So it comes about depending on how well it's programmed, and just like everything, it's how much time and effort did you put into understanding your body, understanding what works for you, the amount of calories you need. For the longest time, I wasn't doing calories per day. I was doing calories per week and seeing how many calories I need for the whole week. And some days I would eat, let's say I miss a meal or something, I eat 1,500, but I eat 2,000 on the next day. My overall caloric consumption for the week is still at X amount. So if I'm trying to drop a pound of fat and I know I need to remove 4,000 calories or subtract 4,000 calories from my weekly diet, which comes out to 500 a day, I know at the end of the 7 days what my caloric consumption needs to be. And I feel it just comes down to knowing your body, knowing what works for you, and understanding the process. If it seems so radical where you're so I don't eat for 48 hours and then I have 3 hours to eat as much food as possible, I don't even think I could eat. I love buffets. I love me some Texas Day Brazil. I don't know. Within that hour, I don't think I eat enough to pay for or not. I don't eat enough to get my money's worth. Like I cannot eat that much within even an hour, let alone 2 hours of straight feasting. Like it's no possible way for me. So I guess I get what you're saying, but it just to me seems very outlandish. Like 48 hours is so long.
I completely agree. I didn't know anyone did 48 hours, and my eyes really did go wide when you said that. It's crazy. I didn't know people were really doing that. Yeah, I agree about how like the pendulum swings. You know, there's a way to do a diet and have it be just too far in that direction. You know, there's nothing wrong with intermittent fasting if you're doing it in a reasonable way, but there's nothing wrong with any diet if you're doing it in a quote unquote reasonable way. And, you know, I agree. I don't think I could eat 2 days worth of food in 2 hours. I don't think I would ever want to. That doesn't sound like fun. And then I wouldn't stick to the diet.
Dr. Nun Aman Ra, he's the guy that, he'll fast for 48 hours and he gives him like a 2, 3, 4 hour window. He said that he used to do it for 22 and then give himself the 2 hour window. And he said that wasn't enough. He said that intermittent fasting boosts testosterone more than anything you could ever do. And just his logic to me seems so outlandish. And I don't know. I don't know what his deal is, but yeah, like I said, man, you because he's incredibly good shape. I wouldn't be surprised if he was on gear, but steroids, gear meaning steroids. I wouldn't be surprised if he was on that. And just, you know, you see this big man who's lifting a lot of weight going, I don't eat for 2 days and I only, you know, eat for 4 days after, or 4 hours after that. These people who aren't in good shape are going to listen and they're going to hurt themselves. And then you have the, I mean, he probably doesn't care, but my conscience couldn't live with that. I'm like, hey, go do this. And then they die or go into ketosis and die. It's like, how can you live with yourself after that?
It's people like that give the title doctor a bad name. You know, when you see someone talking about this kind of thing and you're like, but you got doctor in front of your name? Like doctor or what? Like, do you really know what you're talking about? I mean, there's a couple other people in the fitness industry that, you know, I'm not going to name them now because, you know, we're not famous enough to be starting podcast beefs. But, you know, the kind of person who's like, you know, I've got a doctor of physical therapy. So you know, listen to me when I tell you to do what nobody else in the industry says to do. And people listen sometimes, and they, you know, people who have credentials that should make them more trustable, they do the least scrupulous things. I mean, you know, maybe it's just because one day they woke up and they were like, you know what, I think I'd rather make more money than I care about people's lives.
When you said the doctor, you know, you can have a doctor who doesn't have any credentials. I mean, you can have a doctorate in English and then go out and have Dr. Andrew Beckham and then go out and be a fitness professional. Dr. Andrew Beckham, no one's going to ask what my credentials are, but I'm a doctor. So listen to me and take my dietary advice.
Yeah, it's funny that guy's out there telling people not to eat for 48 hours and how, like, I don't know if people are still doing it, but like the fad back like 10 years ago was like, you got to eat every 2 hours, every 90 minutes, you know, to keep your protein timing, your anabolic windows. And people were like bringing Tupperwares with them everywhere. And this guy, that doctor's out there like, no. Don't eat every 90 minutes. Just eat almost never.
Right. That's me. I was a Tupperware guy forever. Like Tupperware everywhere. But then again, at that point, it was once again eating for how I train. I was hyperactive. Caloric need for bulking was 4,000 calories. I was playing 2 hours of soccer a night, working out 6 days a week, working 2 jobs, and I'm like, all right, people, like something's got to make a concession somewhere. I got to eat all this food, but once again, that worked for me because I was hyperactive, but it doesn't work for everyone. I heard a lot of trainers in my day be like, hey, you need to eat every 3 hours. And someone's like, what do you mean? I can barely eat twice a day. Like, how am I supposed to eat 5 times now? They're like, no, you got to get your protein. You got to get your macros in. And I'm like, macros, that's the same thing as calories, man. Like you base the math off calories. So why are you selling this person on something that's the same as if you were to tell them, hey, here's your caloric diet. This is your caloric deficit. Like, enjoy some food.
Yeah, for sure. And you know this, Dion, I got the same problem as you when it comes to being like skinny. Because you and I in high school were little lads. Or you came from the chunkier side when you were a little kid, right? And then you got super skinny.
Yeah.
And then you got super skinny. I was just always skinny, man. And I remember when I was in 16, 17, 18, being 165 pounds and just eating everything I possibly could. And people being like, well, you just don't have the genetics to get big, brother. I'm sorry. You're just never going to get big. And people told me that. And then now I'm at 220, 230, and I get these people who are like, oh, you're just big. You don't know what it's like being this size. And I just want to punch people in the head because no matter what I do, I don't know what I'm talking about, because 6 years ago when I was 160, 170 pounds, like, you never be big. And now that I'm a little bit bigger, it's like, oh, you just always look like that.
I want to share the story with the chat, because I think you guys will laugh at this. So I've been in Buffalo for about 3 years now. And when I first came up here, like I said, I weighed 158, and I had my first doctor's appointment, got weighed, went through the whole process. I got weighed by my doctor, and the nurse looks at me. She goes, oh, you weigh 185 now. And she goes, you've put on 20 pounds since you've been here. And we just kind of like, I looked at him like, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, are you trying to do that? And I was like, yes. And we kind of had a little laugh with each other. She goes, oh yeah, you're a trainer, right? And I was like, yeah, I am. She goes, like, so it was even in that situation, it's like kind of like the little giggle we had with each other about that. I was like, like, we did it, like, nice job. Like, she even like slightly congratulated me, and I was so happy.
See, and that, oh man, I have a similar story, because I went in the doctors and I was about 231 is my heaviest I've ever been, and it happened to be the one day I went to the doctors and I was 231. And this doctor looks at me, he's like, boy, he's like, you've gained like 50, 60 pounds in about 3 years. And I was like, yes, sir, I have. He goes, you trying to do that? And I was like, yeah. He goes, all right, well, we still need to get you with a dietary consultation, because I was still too heavy for him. At that point, I was considered obese. So I was past the point of gains, and now I was medical. I wasn't good no more.
What's going on, guys? That was the Fitness Roundtable with Andrew, K-Man Barbell, Phil, Yoss Training, and Dion, Active Gamer Fitness. The roundtable is more of a discussion than anything. We hope you've enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. Stay fit, stay strong, stay educated.